Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a place where the ground itself is worth more than gold. A country where, if you dig deep enough, black oil rises like a promise, not a small promise, the largest proven oil reserves on earth. This country is Venezuela. On paper, Venezuela should be one of the richest nations in the world. Oil means money. Oil means power. Oil means security. But reality looks very different. People wait in long lines for fuel. Hospitals struggle to find basic medicines. Parents calculate every meal. Young people pack their bags, not because they want to leave, but because staying feels like suffocating. And thousands of miles away, another country watches all of this carefully. The United States, powerful, strategic, experienced in shaping global outcomes. For years, the relationship between the United States and Venezuela has been tense, emotional, and deeply political. Beneath all the speeches and headlines, there has always been one thing driving everything: oil. For a long time, the connection was simple. Venezuela produced oil. The United States bought it. American refineries were designed to handle Venezuela's heavy crude. Venezuelan oil flowed north, dollars flowed south. It wasn't friendship, it wasn't ideology, it was business. This arrangement worked for decades, quietly, predictably, but politics has a way of breaking simple systems. When Hugo Chavez rose to power in the late 1990s, he changed the direction of the country. He spoke directly to the poor, he challenged elites, he talked about dignity, independence, and sovereignty. To many Venezuelans, he sounded like hope. To Washington, he sounded like a threat. Chavez believed Venezuela's oil should serve Venezuelans first, not foreign corporations, not external interests. He tightened state control over oil. He removed American companies. He aligned himself with countries that openly opposed U.S. influence. Suddenly, oil was no longer just fuel. It became political power. Tensions grew. Trust collapsed. After Chavez's death, Nicolas Maduro inherited a fragile system. The economy weakened. Institutions struggled. Inflation began to rise. Elections were questioned. Opposition voices were suppressed. Protests were met with force. The United States responded with sanctions. At first, they were targeted. Then they expanded. Banks were cut off from international systems. Assets were frozen. Oil exports were restricted. The goal was pressure. The idea was simple. If money stops flowing, the government will change. But pressure does not fall evenly. Governments learn to survive. Elites adapt. But ordinary people feel everything. Prices rose so fast that salaries lost meaning. A month's pay could not buy a week's groceries. Medicine became scarce. Electricity failed. Water stopped running. Imagine being a mother in a country full of oil but having to choose between food and medicine. This is not theory. This is daily life. For years, the United States maintained its position. No oil, no deals, no relief. But the world does not pause for ideology. Wars disrupted global energy supply. Oil prices climbed. Inflation spread across nations. Energy security became urgent again. And once more, Venezuela's oil entered the conversation. Quietly, without big announcements, things began to change. Licenses were adjusted. Exceptions were created. Oil shipments were allowed to resume. But this was not a return to the old relationship. This time, everything came with conditions. The oil could move, but the money would be controlled. Revenue from Venezuelan oil sales would be placed into monitored accounts, watched carefully, restricted. This was not trust, it was containment. At the same time, the United States made its authority clear. An oil tanker linked to Venezuela was seized, stopped mid-route. The message was sharp and precise. Oil is allowed, but only under permission. This is how modern power operates, not with bombs, with access. You may ask why the United States cares so deeply. The answer is not emotional. Venezuela is geographically close, strategically important, symbolically powerful. If the United States steps away, others move in. China has already provided loans. Russia has already offered military and political support, not because they care about Venezuelan citizens, but because oil buys influence. Energy creates leverage. Debt creates dependency. Venezuela became a quiet chessboard. Moves were made with contracts, not tanks. Pressure was applied through finance, not force. And once again, the people stood between giants. Millions left the country over the years, not because they wanted to abandon their homes, but because hope became too heavy to carry. Parents stayed behind, watching empty streets and closed schools. Sanctions were designed to punish leadership, but they reshaped lives. Now, the United States faces a difficult balance. Apply pressure and risk humanitarian collapse. Relax pressure and risk empowering the same system, so it chose realism. Controlled access, limited relief, no public forgiveness, just necessity. Oil is flowing again, slowly. Money is moving, carefully. Politics remain frozen. This is not a solution. It is a pause. Nothing fundamental has changed. Because this story was never truly about democracy alone, and it was never just about oil. It was about who sets the rules, who decides when a nation can sell its resources, who controls the flow of money, who determines acceptable suffering. Behind every barrel of oil crossing the ocean, there is a family affected by its price. That is the part rarely mentioned in negotiations. That is the part that does not appear in official statements. This is not a story of heroes and villains. It is a story of power and consequence, of global systems that reward strength and punish weakness. Venezuela's tragedy is not just about bad leadership or foreign pressure. It is about how fragile countries become when they are caught between forces larger than themselves. And the United States' role is not purely cruel or purely justified. It is strategic. Because in global politics, morality often bends under necessity. This story is still unfolding. Oil continues to move, pressure continues to exist, lives continue in uncertainty. And the world watches, knowing that beneath the headlines, this is not about nations. It is about people trying to survive in the shadow of power. That is the real story of the United States and Venezuela. Quiet, heavy, and